Exposed: How I Transformed an NDA into a life-changing opportunity with $100,000 funding. Jessica stood behind the counter of her father's plumbing shop, the dusty air heavy with memories of laughter and hard work. The bell above the door chimed, and in walked a man in a crisp suit, his presence striking like lightning in the storm of her routine. He offered a deal that sent her heart racing, a lucrative contract that would pull her family business from the brink of collapse. But then came the strings, a non-disclosure agreement, tight enough to suffocate her, the very air squeezing from her lungs as she faced the choice between tradition and transformation. Just last night, she had closed up shop, glancing at the family photos on the walls. Her father's proud smile haunted her, reminding her of all the dreams she once had. Now, those dreams felt more like whispers fading into the backdrop of daily struggles, mounting bills, peeling paint on the shop's exterior, and the weight of the world resting on her small shoulders. She missed him more than she could put into words. As she locked the door, she remembered how he taught her about resilience. The American dream isn't just a story, he'd say. It's the grit you put in every day. That sentiment rang even louder today amidst the talk of prosperity around town. Friends gathered at the local diner, cup after cup of coffee fueling their discussions of ambition. As they shared their challenges and triumphs, Jessica felt the tide of hope rising within her. Lila, a waitress with dreams of a bakery, and Mia, an artist longing to exhibit her work, ignited a flicker of determination in her heart. Could she really grab that opportunity, even if it meant breaking from her father's ideals? Just as the spark flared, shadows crept in. The whispered envy among her friends seeped into their conversations, tinged by jealousy. The camaraderie they shared began to unravel like a frayed rope, leaving her feeling vulnerable. "You think you're better than us now?" Mia spat one afternoon. "Just 'cause you got that fancy offer?" Jessica's heart sank, words lodged in her throat. What was supposed to be a moment of potential joy turned into a battlefield of emotions, harsh and unforgiving. At the community meeting, tensions ran high as friends bickered, revealing insecurities and grudges like raw wounds. Jessica felt every painful word like a dagger. It was as if the air was electric with unspoken truths. Betrayal stung harder than she expected when Lila accused her of selling out their bond for ambition. The room buzzed with discontent, the once familiar faces now veiled in skepticism, signaling a silent storm brewing among them. In that moment of chaos, Jessica's resolve crystallized. She had to confront not just her community, but the fragility of her identity as well. Balancing her family's legacy with her own ambitions felt like a tightrope walk above a churning sea of doubt. The illusion of safety and acceptance slipped away, leaving her with a nagging question. Could she really forge ahead, even if it meant losing everything? Just as the dust from the confrontation settled, and the echoes of accusations lingered, she felt an ember of defiance flickering within her. The moment of truth was at hand. Would she keep her father's legacy alive, or could she dare to write a new chapter for herself? As she stood overshadowed by doubt and expectation, the weight of her decision pressed heavily upon her. Hope hung in the air, just out of reach, leaving readers eager to find out how Jessica would navigate the storm, and whether she would step into the light or remain in the shadows of her past. The morning sun filtered through the cracked window of the plumbing shop, casting a golden hue across the floor. Jessica stood behind the counter, her task list untouched as she wrestled with her thoughts. It felt different today. The stakes had changed. She could hear the echoes of her friends' harsh words bouncing off the walls, each one like a stone tossed carelessly into a pond, rippling out the doubts she tried to bury. The day ahead was filled with uncertainty. As she glanced through the glass door, a familiar face caught her eye. It was Lila, standing awkwardly on the sidewalk, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. It wouldn't be long before the waitresses arrived for the morning shift. Lila, once a supportive friend, now seemed like a ghost of their past, a painful reminder of the tight-knit circle that was fraying at the seams. Taking a deep breath, Jessica pushed through the door. "Hey, Lila," she said, the greeting hanging heavy in the still air. Hey," Lila replied, her face a mix of vulnerability and defiance. Jessica felt the awkward silence stretching like a taut string. The pressure to speak, to break the ice, quickly turned into a weight she could barely carry. "I don't want things to be like this between us," she admitted, searching for the right words. "I didn't ask for any of this." Lila shifted her weight, eyes darting away. "You've changed, Jess. This place, it's our home," she said, bitterness threading through her words. "You might be too busy climbing the corporate ladder to notice." "No, it's just," Jessica began, but the words fell flat. This was her chance. She could either stand up for herself or let the rising tide of jealousy sweep her under. "I have a chance to save this shop, to make it better, for all of us." Lila's arms crossed defensively. "At what cost? Your integrity? Your friendships?" Jessica felt her heart crack. Here she was, fighting for a future, and all her friend could see was betrayal. The memories of laughter over coffee, late-night talks about dreams, all of it felt like ashes in her mouth. "I want to make something of myself while I can," she said softly, her voice breaking. "Isn't that what we've always wanted?" Just then, the bell above the door jingled, signaling the arrival of Mia. She strode in, confidence radiating from her, but her eyes flickered to Lila and then back to Jessica, holding a question in the air. "What's going on? You two still arguing over a stupid contract?" Jessica's heart raced. "No, it's not just that," Mia interrupted, skepticism written all over her face. "You're on the verge of selling out. We know you, Jess. Remember who you are?" Jessica clenched her fists, feeling the surge of anger rise. "I am not selling out. I'm trying to secure our future." A tense silence enveloped them, the weight of friendship and ambition colliding. Each of them held on to their own visions, broken alliances, and wavering loyalties, shadows of doubt lingering. "Just think about what you're doing," Lila murmured as she turned to leave, leaving a sense of impending loss hanging in the air. Jessica stood frozen, her eyes locked on the door Lila had just exited. This was more than a fleeting argument. It was a battle for her identity. The rumors would linger, but could she fight back? As the events of the morning resounded in her mind, a new determination welled inside her. What had once felt like an impossible choice now transformed into a call for action. Could she reshape her community's perception and foster the dreams they had in common? Jessica took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. With the contract looming over her, she began to formulate a plan, not just for her future, but for her friends, too. In that moment of clarity, resolved to redefine her place in the world, she asked herself, what if she could bend the rules, bring everyone along, and turn envy into inspiration? Unbeknownst to her, this new mission would take her down an unpredictable road, testing her bonds, her limits, and the very essence of who she believed she was. Just as she was preparing to step forward, the door swung open once more, a new challenger stepping into her unfolding journey. Would this presence ignite a spark or fan the flames of discord once again? Jessica took a step back, stunned as a tall figure entered the shop. The sunlight draped over him, illuminating an air of confidence that competed with her swirling emotions. It was Alex, the investor she'd only heard rumors about from her father and colleagues over the years. He peered around the cluttered space, and Jessica's heart raced with equal parts excitement and apprehension. "Hello," he said, his gaze locking onto hers. There was something compelling about him. Perhaps it was his easy smile or the way he commanded attention without even trying. "I've been hearing buzz about what you're doing here. I thought it was time to see if it's as good as they say." Her stomach twisted. "Oh yeah, it's a plumbing shop," she said, trying to inject humor into her words, but feeling their weight. "Not much to see." He chuckled, seemingly unfazed by her awkwardness. "But there's potential, Jess. I can see it. I want to know about your vision." It was the moment she had envisioned, but why now? Everything felt overwhelming. "I'm trying to secure funding, bring people together," she found herself saying, the words spilling out. But my friends don't see it that way. They think I'm abandoning them for a vapor dream. Sometimes dreams need sacrifice to grow, Alex replied, his voice calm and steady. But making sure you have the right people on board is key. Who are your supporters? Jessica hesitated, thoughts swirling. She realized there couldn't be honest support if there was doubt on the horizon. My friends are struggling to understand. They feel betrayed, like I'm selling out. Maybe it's time for a new plan. What if you brought them into the fold? Show them how they can be a part of this transition instead of an obstacle? His suggestion sparked something within her, a light of hope amidst the tension. As much as hurt lingered from her recent confrontation, she understood Alex was right. If she could just convince them of the possibilities, they might rediscover their strength as a team. I never wanted to leave them behind. I want to lift us up together. A smirk played on his lips, and Jessica found herself drawn to his confidence. Then show them. Set up a meeting. Lay out the numbers, the opportunities, the vision. Inviting them to participate could shift the narrative. Doubt lingered like a stubborn shadow, but hope followed closely behind. She needed to put herself out there again. I'll do it. I'll talk to them, patch things up, and make them see what I see. Perfect, Alex said, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. And in the meantime, I'll consider funding your ideas. I want to believe in what you're building here. Jessica felt the weight of his words. Funding, a lifeline. But it was more than just money, it was validation. She wanted to prove to Lila and Mia that there was a way forward. Meet me here tomorrow with your proposal, he instructed, and she could hear the reverberations of his words in her core. And let us harness that creative energy. His presence lifted her spirits, and with every passing breath, she began to feel bolder. I will. As he turned to leave, she noticed he stopped, glancing back at her with an enigmatic smile. Remember, Jess, people can surprise you. Sometimes, it takes stepping into the light to see how bright you really shine. She stood there, feeling the residual warmth of his words wrap around her, igniting a newfound ambition within her heart. Could Alex's belief in her translate into the support of her friends? The door swung shut, and Jessica found herself alone once more, brimming with possibilities and challenges to navigate. The looming proposal felt like a mountain one she was both anxious to climb and terrified to approach. With her resolve settled, she left the shop that afternoon with a plan taking shape. But just as she stepped out onto the street, a figure caught her, Lila, standing there again, tension visible on her face. What if this was the moment everything began to unravel or mend? Jessica took a deep breath, wondering if she was ready to confront her friend with the new possibilities. Ahead, would they face it together, or would the chasm between them deepen? Jessica's heart felt like it was beating out of her chest. Lila had always been her rock, the one person she could depend on through thick and thin. Now, seeing her friend stand just a few feet away, hands shoved in her pockets, eyebrows furrowed, sent a jolt of anxiety through her. Lila, Jessica called, inching closer, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? Lila hesitated, her gaze darting away for a moment, as if weighing her options. The air was thick between them, filled with unsaid words and unresolved emotions. I don't know, Jess, she replied finally, the hurt evident in her tone. You've been acting like everything is fine. What is going on? It's not fine, Jessica admitted, a lump forming in her throat. I've been offered funding for the shop, and I want to make it something we can all be proud of. Lila's eyes widened slightly, but quickly darkened again. You're just diving into this without considering us. We've been through so much together already. How could you think we'd just jump on board? Jessica pressed her lips together, frustration bubbling underneath. I want to show you both the bigger picture. I'm not abandoning you. I want us to grow together. This isn't just about the shop or me. It's about all of us. Sounds like a sales pitch, Jess. You're giving us the same vision you had before, but now you're just dragging us into it. The tension in Lila's voice felt like a snapping rubber band. Jessica clenched her fists, feeling a storm of emotions brewing inside. I just met with Alex. He believes in this idea. In me, she said, her voice raised without her realizing it. I need you to believe in it too. But I understand your reservations. I want to work through this. Lila stepped back, a mix of shock and irritation on her face. You think just because he's an investor it makes this okay? He doesn't know us. He doesn't know what we built here. It's not just about him or the money, Jessica replied, her voice steadier now. I want to be the best version of myself, the leader I know I can be. And I want you and Mia to be a part of it. Silence wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, stifling and tense. Jessica could feel the stares of passers-by, people curious about the confrontation unfolding in front of them. But it didn't matter. This was bigger than that. This was about her friendship, her future. I just don't know if I can come along for this ride, Jess. Not if you're already leaving us behind, Lila replied, her voice small. Jessica coaxed her breath, feeling the weight of her friend's words. She didn't want to lose Lila. Not after everything. Let us set a meeting. Just the three of us. I'll lay everything out, the visions, the plans, and how we fit together. If I can't convince you, then we can talk about where we go from there. Lila studied her for what felt like an eternity. Just as Jessica felt her heart sink, Lila sighed, her posture softening a fraction. Fine, but you better have a solid plan, Jess. I don't want this to be another one of your dreams. I promise, Jessica said, relief flooding through her. I'll make it work. We could do this together. As they separated, words still heavy in the air, Jessica felt a flicker of optimism. But deep down, she knew it wouldn't be easy. Could they repair the fracture in their friendship and redefine their paths together? The following day loomed ahead, her meeting with Alex and the chance to invite Lila and Mia into these new possibilities. Yet uncertainty gnawed at her. Would her friends embrace the vision she was so passionate about, or see it as the final push away from their old selves? Jessica took a breath as she walked away, mind racing. She needed to make her next steps count. Failure was not an option, and neither was losing her friends. Tomorrow felt like a precipice. Could she leap into a future that was both frightening and exhilarating? Or would fear pull her back into the shadows? Jessica tossed and turned that night, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and worries. She felt the weight of the upcoming meeting pressing down on her like a heavy blanket. Every time she closed her eyes, she could see Lila's skeptical expression, the hurt in Mia's eyes if they didn't believe in her anymore. Morning came, but it was far from refreshing. Jessica awoke feeling like she was in a fog, but she knew what she had to do. She took a moment, staring at the ceiling, breathing deeply, tried to summon courage. Today was about deciding what her life would look like, not just for her, but for her friends as well. The shop had been a dream of theirs since high school. The vision of a cozy space filled with vibrant colors, laughter, and their collective ideas was what kept them going through tough times. And now, with Alex's financial backing, Jessica felt she could finally pull it all together. She arrived at the cafe where they had agreed to meet. The sun filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow that contrasted sharply with her anxious heart. She took a seat and fidgeted with her phone, checking the time repeatedly. She knew they needed to talk, but every tick of the clock felt like a countdown to potential disaster. Lila arrived first, her expression unreadable, but Jessica noticed the tightness in her posture as she slid into the chair opposite her. Mia followed moments later, her usual bubbly energy dulled by uncertainty. The three of them exchanged hesitant smiles, the kind used to bridge an emotional chasm. Thanks for coming, Jessica started, her voice wavering slightly. I know this is a big deal. Let us just get to it, Lila said, crossing her arms defensively. We want to hear what you have to say. Jessica took a deep breath, trying to settle the butterflies in her stomach. Okay, so this isn't just about funding. It's about creating something bigger than we ever imagined. I have this plan. As she spoke, Jessica felt her heart pounding with every word. She described the vision for the shop, how they could create a community space, host events, showcase local artists, and support each other in ways they hadn't before. She shared Alex's enthusiasm, his faith in their potential together, and how that had lit a fire in her. We would have space for everything we love, workshops, our favorite coffee blends, In a place for people to connect, Jessica finished, her voice breathless. But I can't do this without you both. The room hung silent as Lila and Mia exchanged glances. Jessica's heart sank slightly. Had she convinced them, or only deepened their doubts? I get your passion, Jess, Lila finally said, her voice quieter but more thoughtful. But it feels like you're suddenly asking us to adapt to a world we're not sure we want to be a part of. Mia nodded, biting her lip. It's just so much. Are we really ready to take that leap? Jessica felt the air thicken again, weighed down by their worries. I know it's a huge shift, but if we don't take risks, how can we grow? We've built so much over the years, and we can make this work together, but only if you trust me. Trust is built, Jess. I want to believe in this, Lila said, her eyes searching for certainty, but it's going to take more than just a plan to get us there. A flicker of hope ignited inside Jessica. This wasn't tea over yet. They were still willing to talk, still processing. Then let us build that trust, she said earnestly. Together, let us sketch out our ideas, voice our fears. If we find common ground, we can truly make something amazing happen. Lila glanced at Mia, and Jessica held her breath, eager for their response. Would they take that step forward or retreat back into what they had always known? As their eyes met, Jessica felt the ground shift beneath her, the air charged with the promise of coming change. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point, but what she didn't expect was the news that would derail everything. Jessica's stomach twisted into knots as she waited for their response. Just then, the cafe's door swung open, and in walked Alex. With his easy smile and effortless charm, he made the world feel lighter. But today, as Jessica gazed at him, that brightness felt too stark against the gathering clouds above her head. "Hey, I'm so glad to see you all together," he said, notebook in hand. He took a seat next to Jessica, his enthusiasm palpable. "I want to hear about your visions for our space." She forced a smile, suddenly aware that this meeting had shifted from a discussion among friends to a business pitch in front of an audience. "I was just telling Lila and Mia about how we can create a community hub," Jessica stammered, hoping to regain the momentum. "With workshops, local art showcases, and a cafe feel that brings our ideas to life." Alex nodded, his face lighting up like a kid on Christmas morning. "That's what I'm talking about. Imagine the connections we can create here." But Lila and Mia were still looking at each other, their uncertainty hanging thick in the air. "I love everything you're saying, Jess," Lila said slowly, the worry lines on her forehead deepening. "But we have to think about the risks. What happens if this fails? What happens to us?" Mia fidgeted with her cup, avoiding eye contact. "We've spent so many years cultivating what we have. Are we really prepared to risk it all?" Jessica felt a surge of frustration mixed with sadness. It's not about throwing everything away. This is about growth. It's about taking our friendship and turning it into something that could inspire others. But both of them remained unconvinced, and Jessica felt her heart sinking. She desperately needed to change the mood, but how? Unexpectedly, Alex leaned in, a serious look crossing his face. "What if I told you I'd be willing to contribute, not just financially, but also with my network and resources? I believe in this idea and in the three of you." Jessica's breath caught, a flicker of hope igniting as those words settled in. But then she frowned. "We'd be putting more on the line if things go south, right?" "Of course," Alex remarked, his voice steady. "But isn't that the point? You said you wanted to create something together. This could be your shot." For a moment, Jessica's mind raced ahead. But what if Alex's investment came at a price? Would it change their dynamics? Would they lose the essence of what made them friends? Lila sighed deeply. "This is a lot to digest. Can we think about it more?" "Absolutely," Jessica replied quickly. "Take your time. We have to make sure we're collectively on board. If we're not united, it won't matter how much money we can bring in." As the conversation continued, Jessica felt the uneasy thrill of possibility. They began brainstorming ideas, filling the air with laughter and what-ifs. For brief moments, hope shone through, the excitement rekindling an old fire. And just as it seemed they were turning a corner, Alex's phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up, and his face fell, tension tightening his jaw. It's a business call I need to take. As he stepped outside, Jessica glanced at Lila and Mia, who wore expressions of concern and confusion. What if everything changes if we move forward? Mia voiced what they were all thinking, her eyes wide. It could be the best decision ever, Jessica replied softly. But her heart raced with doubt. Doubt that something would go wrong. Doubt that they could turn their dream into a reality. And in that moment, a sudden realization struck Jessica. What if changing their lives meant unraveling everything they knew, including their friendships? As they exchanged glances filled with what-ifs and uncertainty, the door swung open again, and Alex walked back in with an unexpected guest, someone who could change everything about the future they were building. Jessica's heart dropped. Who was it? And how would it alter their path from here? Jessica's breath hitched as she processed the silhouette framed in the doorway. It was someone she hadn't seen in years, Daniel, an old friend from college. His tall figure cut through the dim light of the cafe, a wave of nostalgia washing over her. His presence was both comforting and jarring, like a favorite song that suddenly plays at the wrong moment. Daniel? She managed to whisper, the name lingering in the air like a fragile thread. Memories rushed in, unsought study nights, laughing until they cried. Hadn't they shared dreams of starting something big once? Something like this? Hey, everyone, he greeted with a smile that felt both familiar and foreign. Alex called me. I could help with some brainstorming for your community hub. Jessica's heart raced. The last time they'd spoken, tensions had flared, and they'd gone their separate ways. What did he mean by help? A part of her was where he wasn't this meeting confusing enough without inviting someone who might shake things up further. Alex settled back in his chair, beaming. I thought Daniel could lend some creative wisdom. He has done amazing things with his own projects. Jessica glanced at Lila and Mia, their faces split between disbelief and curiosity. All of them nodded slowly, still processing the situation. Would Daniel's involvement shift their focus or bring in more chaos? Thanks, man. We really appreciate it, Lila said politely, her usual spark dimmed by uncertainty. Daniel pulled up a chair, his presence radiating an intensity that had Jessica shifting in her seat. I've seen the potential in your idea. It's about creating connections, right? Community? It speaks to me. As he dove into ideas and suggestions, Jessica felt different emotions battling inside her. His passion mirrored what she sought for their project, yet it added an unexpected layer of complication. How could they balance different visions without losing their unity? And what about funding? It's great to dream, but can it pay the bills? Daniel's directness made her fidget. Jessica wanted to scream that it wasn't just about the money for them. It was about heart. Alex leaned in. That's the exciting part. I've got some contacts who can help us figure that out, but it's going to take a bit of work. Daniel's gaze held steady. If you're serious about this, I can introduce you to investors who've been looking for projects just like yours. I can help get you up to $100,000 in funding. The air turned electric, and Jessica felt a mixture of hope and dread surge through her veins. Was that the opportunity they needed, or a trap that could unravel everything they had built together? Mia looked overwhelmed, nearly gasping. But what if we don't want to lose control of the project? What if the investors change everything? Investors can be scary, Lila interjected, her voice trembling slightly. What if they don't share our vision? Jessica wrestled with those same thoughts. She understood their fears, yet with the promise of money came the chance to bring their dreams to life. Could this be the lifeline they desperately needed? Daniel's eyes flicked around the table, gauging their reactions. The beauty of this is that you have options. You just need to be absolutely sure about what you want. If you're ready to move forward, we can make something incredible happen. Silence hung heavily in the air as each of them considered his offer. The potential hung before them like a shimmering mirage. Should they leap, or were they risking too much? Jessica's heart raced, caught between longing and fear. How could they decide what path was right when everything felt so fragile? As her gaze caught Alex's, she noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his usually confident demeanor. As they sat there, suspense draping over them, the door creaked again. Another visitor? Or perhaps an unexpected twist? No one saw the storm brewing just beyond the cafe walls, and Jessica's heart began to ache at the thought of what they were about to face next. Jessica's pulse quickened as her eyes darted to the door. The atmosphere thickened, charged with an uncertainty that sent chills down her spine. Who else could possibly walk in right now? She could hardly think about the whirlwind of emotions swirling at the table. Daniel's offer and her friend's trepidation consumed her thoughts. As if the universe had decided to answer her question, the door swung wide. A gust of wind rushed inside, carrying the scent of rain and change. In stepped a woman Jessica recognized instantly, Maria, her former college professor. "Jessica," Maria called, her voice warm but laced with urgency. "I hope you don't mind me dropping by unannounced." Jessica's heart sank. The last thing she wanted was to revolve her current dilemma around another complication. Still, she forced a smile. "Not at all, Maria. We were just discussing funding opportunities, I heard." Maria interjected, her eyes glinting with excitement. "It's a big step, isn't it?" The room fell silent, Daniel's enthusiasm dimming as Maria's presence shifted the focus once again. Jessica sensed the tension in the air. She appreciated Maria's perspective, but wasn't sure she was ready for another mentor's scrutiny. "Is this a good time? I know I can be a bit much," Maria teased lightly, but her expression was serious. "Of course. We could use all the insights we can get," Alex replied, his eagerness trying to lighten the mood. Maria took a seat, her sharp gaze assessing Daniel, then flicking to the rest of them as if searching for unspoken concerns. "I've been keeping an eye on what you all are trying to build. I just returned from a conference where I met some passionate investors. I think you could fit right in." "I'm sure Daniel has plenty of options," Jessica said quickly, feeling defensive. Why did this feel like a competition for their attention? Daniel leaned back, folding his arms, a smirk playing on his lips. "You might want to take a look at the plans first. We're all here for the same goal." Maria's eyes narrowed, but her smile stayed in place. "Absolutely. But what is the underlying mission? It's crucial to establish that before chasing any funding." Jessica caught the intensity in Daniel's eyes and mustered a quiet strength of her own. "It is about community," she affirmatively replied. "We want to create a space where people can connect, share resources, and thrive together. But can we do it without losing ourselves in the process?" Mia finally spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. "We don't want to become something we never intended." Maria's expression softened, her wisdom shining through. "You will. Just remember to establish your core values first. Money can blur the vision if you let it." A jump in Jessica's chest made her sit up a little straighter. As they broached the essential questions, she found a flicker of unity among them. But could they manage to convince potential investors that it was their heart and not just profits that drove this project? Daniel cleared his throat. "So what is your move? Are you going to risk it with me? Or are you going to sit here letting opportunities slip away?" The tension hung thick, charging the air around them. Jessica could feel her pulse in her ears, a blend of excitement and anxiety. Each choice felt monumental. "Before we make any decisions." Jessica felt herself trembling, but her resolve gathered around her words. "We need to decide together who we are as a team. No compromises." Lila and Mia exchanged glances, their expressions resolute. As they nodded in agreement, Jessica sensed the space between them growing wider, the emotional stakes elevating. But outside, the storm was brewing, darker clouds layering the horizon. What awaited them on this path, now crystallizing before them? And as the rain began to patter against the cafe windows, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the calm before the storm. What decisions lay ahead, and how would they shape the future of their dream? Jessica could feel her heart pounding as a heavy silence engulfed the cafe. Each face around the table, lit soft by flickering overhead lights and illuminated by the stormy night outside, was a mirror of her own anxiety. They were at a critical junction. Maria set her eyes on Jessica, waiting, almost expectant. A bead of sweat slid down Jessica's back. She was grateful for the support of Mia and Lila, yet a part of her had never felt so alone. We can't just choose quick cash over our vision, Jessica continued, her voice steadying as she spoke. What we're building is bigger than that. It's about trust. Daniel's smirk faded. Trust doesn't pay the bills. The weight of his words sunk deep, and for a moment, the cafe was deafeningly quiet. Jessica could see the cracks forming in Lila's confidence, the unease creeping back into Mia's brow. They needed reassurance, and all she could give were words that felt weak against the colossal challenge before them. Maybe we should hear him out, Maria suggested gently. She remembered all too well the hardship of chasing dreams without adequate support. But what if we lose ourselves in the process? Mia interjected, her voice trembling. Could we end up selling out? Jessica's gaze flickered between her friends and Daniel. They needed to stay united. We have to write down everything we believe in, she said, leaning forward. Our mission, values everything. Then we can see if any potential investor aligns with that. Yes, Lila exclaimed, gaining momentum. Set our boundaries. That's the best way to protect our vision. Daniel shifted in his seat, arms now uncrossed. And if we're smart about it, we could take this funding and invest in the things that matter most, giving communities a voice, a place. Isn't that worth exploring? Yes, it is. Alex chimed in, eager. But do we want to be tied to a commitment that could dictate our every move? This isn't just about dollars and cents. Jessica felt the tension start to lift, new hope rising like the sun breaking through the clouds. Let us create a plan, she said, a roadmap for who we want to be and who we will be. We have the power to shape this. She looked at each of them, urging, a shared vision will keep us grounded, even when the wind tries to sweep us away. They began to talk, ideas bouncing back and forth, passion igniting the space around them. Maria leaned back, observing, a small smile on her lips. The concern around the cafe dimmed with every assertion they made, weaving their dreams into something tangible, a shield against the chaos outside. But as the rain pounded harder against the windows, a sudden flash of lightning illuminated the cafe. Just for a moment, Jessica sensed something more the magnitude of what this could become hovered in the air, like the potent scent of rain-soaked earth. Suddenly, the cafe's manager made his rounds, clearing tables for the night. Last call, everyone, he shouted, which jolted them back to reality. Jessica's heart raced again, not from fear, but from possibility. Let's take a break, she said. I need some fresh air. As Jessica stepped outside, the cool air hit her like a splash of hope, mixing excitement with uncertainty. She breathed deeply, feeling a spark inside. There were dangers ahead, hidden tides of challenge and upheaval. But this felt like a moment she had to face full on. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She fished it out, her heart fluttering nervously. It was a text from Daniel. Let us meet alone tomorrow morning. I have something important to discuss. Jessica felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What was he planning? Would it change everything they had just built in this moment of unity? As the first drops of rain began to fall, heavier this time, the question lingered, was she truly ready to face whatever was coming next? The stage was set, and all she could think was, how could this be the calm before a new storm? The next day began with a mix of anticipation and dread. Jessica woke up early, hardly sleeping the night before. The text from Daniel echoed in her mind. Let us meet alone tomorrow morning. I have something important to discuss. Part of her stomach churned at the thought of what he might reveal, but another part ignited a spark of curiosity. After getting ready, she stepped into the plumbing shop, welcoming the scent of metallic tools and wood. This was her fortress, the starting point of everything. Each piece of machinery felt like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. She would face whatever lay ahead. Just as she wrapped her thoughts in determination, the bell above the door rang. Lila and Mia stepped in, still draped in the shadows of yesterday's uncertainty. Hey, Lila said, her tone cautious. Any updates with Daniel? He wants to meet, Jessica admitted, feeling every eye on her like a spotlight. I don't know what to expect, but he mentioned it's important. Mia nodded slowly, her eyes clouded with concern. Are you sure you want to meet him alone? I'm not comfortable with this, she said, insecurity threading through her voice. I'll be okay, Jessica reassured, but uncertainty lingered in her gut. We're all in this together, right? I just need to figure some things out. Keep your guard up, Lila said firmly, crossing her arms. Her protective nature surfaced, but Jessica could hear the worry concealed within. They all wanted the same thing, a flourishing business, rooted in friendship. Trust me, I won't let him derail us, Jessica replied, hoping to calm their concerns. With a final shared glance, Jessica stepped out into the cool morning, taking a deep breath. She made her way to the cafe where Daniel had suggested they meet. Nervous energy washed over her, leaving little room for fear. She was ready to make choices for her future. She had to be. When she arrived, she spotted Daniel sitting at a corner table, fingers drumming absent-mindedly on his coffee cup. He looked up as she approached, a smile drifting across his face. Hey, thanks for meeting me, he said, inviting her to sit. But the lightness in his tone hid something deeper, a purpose, a target. I just want to know what's on your mind, Jessica said straight to the point, laying her cards on the table. Daniel leaned in slightly, his brow furrowing. I think you all could greatly benefit from financial backing, but you need more than a pretty face on the project. You need a strategy. What are you suggesting? Jessica asked, her heart racing as she squashed the pit of anxiety in her stomach. Let me guide you. I have contacts who can help streamline your plan and make it profitable. But first, I need to know how committed you and your friends really are. Committed? She echoed, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks. We've been through this. We can't compromise who we are. Jessica, you don't seem to get it, he replied, his voice gaining an edge. You'll have to make sacrifices. If you want the funding, you have to let go of some control. The words stung, but they rang with truth. Reality clicked into place. This was the crossroads. You really believe in this? You'd risk your connections on us? I see potential, Jess. But if you want people to buy in on this vision, you need to make it appealing, he insisted, leaning back satisfied. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Jessica sat in contemplation, wrestling within herself. How could she convince her friends of a dream they nearly lost? Would they risk everything for the potential of something great? Let me think about it, she finally said, standing to leave. But guilt pulsed through her. Was it worth it to risk her relationships for the possibility of success? What about Alex? She asked before leaving, knowing they had someone in common. Yes, great. But you need to be the one steering the boat. Without you, it's just talk. Jessica took a deep breath and stepped outside. Dilemmas weighed heavy within, threatening to pull her under, but she wouldn't let them drown her. Once back at the shop, she found Lila and Mia waiting for her, faces striated with worry. What did he say? Lila asked, urgency spilling from her lips. It's not easy, Jessica admitted. He wants to help us streamline things, but demands more control. Mia stared, shock emulating from her expression. You can't let someone else overpower our vision. Jess, it's what we stand for. I know. I'm just trying to secure our future. But I can't do it alone. You have us, Lila said, her voice steadying. But we need to figure out not just how to take the leap, but whether we want it together. The warmth of their unity swept over Jessica, grounding her. She remembered the laughter, the shared dreams, and the possibility of crafting something truly special. Let us set a time to discuss all of this more openly, Jessica suggested. If we all gather our thoughts, share what we want this to be, we can create a strategy that feels right for all of us. In that moment, Jessica felt the walls of fear begin to slide away. They would figure this out not just for the shop, but for their friendship. As they all nodded in agreement, Jessica felt a rush of hope blooming in her chest. They were no longer standing at a precipice. They were building a bridge to their future. Together, they would transform their business into a sanctuary for dreams, laughter, and community. And right then, Jessica decided she would fight for what mattered most: friendship, unity, and a shared vision, no matter how stormy the skies ahead might be. This was their moment. Now it is time for you, the audience, to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. You need to be part of this community. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep this journey going together.